The Breach. Chapter 1. Anna could hardly contain her excitement as the moving truck rumbled up the long, winding driveway, giving her the first glimpse of the beautiful Victorian house she would now call home. After months of searching, she had finally found her perfect place to start fresh, an elegant yet cozy historic home, tucked away on a sprawling bit of land in the remote countryside. Stepping out of her packed car, Anna gazed at the three-story mansion and let out a contented sigh, already envisioning the memories to be made here. The aged gray wood siding, peaked gables framing attic windows, and covered porch complete with rocking chairs evoked a quintessential charm. She had fallen completely in love with the character of the place during the showings. While its isolated location far from the noise and crowds of the city would take some adjusting to, Anna looked forward to the peace. No more thin walls with the neighbors always shouting. No more car alarms and sirens at all hours of the night. Out here, she'd find only the soothing sounds of nature, wind breezing through the trees, birds chirping their songs, the creaks and groans of the old house settling. As Anna stepped onto the porch and unlocked the ornate front door, a new life awaited on the other side. The spacious interior featured stunning hardwood floors paired with antique furnishings passed down through generations of previous owners. A crystal chandelier threw glittering rainbows around the foyer. The living room housed a stone hearth fireplace perfect for reading beside on chilly autumn nights. While modernizing touches had been added, much of the home's 19th century charm remained intact. The layout sprawled in a labyrinth of rooms and narrow hallways that Anna looked forward to exploring, imagining the stories behind each peculiar nook and cranny. She decided to claim the gorgeous corner bedroom on the second floor as her own. It had a breathtaking view of the countryside bursting with fall colors through two large windows. The cozy space also came complete with a canopy bed, an antique writing desk, and an overstuffed velvet armchair. This would serve as an idyllic retreat to unwind in peace after her stressful job in the city. Over the next few days, Anna fell into contented rhythms, unpacking and organizing while appreciating the quiet countryside atmosphere. She would wake to misty dawns with the smell of rich earth carried on the breeze. Deer even began cautiously emerging from the surrounding woods to explore near the house. Nights were darker than Anna ever experienced before, the sprawling starry sky brilliant and blazing, untainted by light pollution. But at times, the isolation and emptiness of the large house also felt eerie to Anna. She found herself jumping at unexpected creaks or groans within its walls, as old places often did. Once or twice, she thought she glimpsed movements from the corner of her eye, shadows passing in doorways, but chalked it up to her unfamiliarity and nerves. Anna felt certain she would soon adjust to the solitude of her new home as the last chaotic memories of city living faded. But her once peaceful nights slowly became plagued by strange new disturbances, ones that made her question just how alone she was out here. It began with noises drifting from the darkness, faint yet unmistakable. Disembodied whispers, light fluttering footsteps overhead when Anna knew no one was upstairs, almost playful soft giggling of a child echoing from distant rooms. She buried her head beneath pillows, telling herself it was merely branches scraping the roof or animals scurrying within walls. But the occurrences persisted and intensified night after night. One evening while reading in bed, Anna swore she heard 3 sharp raps upon the bedroom door. Yet opening it revealed only the empty hallway, faint remnants of childlike laughter tickling her ears. On another night, the patter of rain turned to a roar against the windows, though when she checked the morning after, the ground remained bone dry. She could feel the energy within the house shifting, darkness gathering in its forgotten edges and crannies. The comfortable home she had moved into now seemed to transform each night into something watchful, the once cozy furnishings taking on eerie shadows creeping at the corners of her eyes. Anna felt her refuge unraveling into a space both strange and hostile. When the apparitions began, Anna finally confronted the terrifying truth: she was not alone here after all. It started with fleeting forms darting across hallways, present only for a split second before vanishing. Then one night the figure of a young girl materialized at the foot of Anna's bed, hollow eyes staring intensely before blinking out of existence. She began witnessing spectral visages more frequently, appearing silent and mournful. Desperate for answers, Anna researched the history of the house. Scouring the town's archives, she uncovered the dark truth hidden in this home's past. Over 60 years ago, a shocking murder had been committed within these very walls. A girl barely 10 years old brutally stabbed to death in her bedroom upstairs, the crime never solved. Poring over faded newspaper clippings, Anna found images of the ghostly child now haunting her each night. The pieces fell into place in her mind. She was being tormented by the murdered girl's lingering soul, unable to find peace after the violence which ended her young life here. The paranormal events plaguing Anna's nights grew stronger by the day. Furniture slid across rooms on its own power, shadowy hands grabbed at her from dark corners, manic laughter echoed from empty spaces. The ghost child's appearances became commonplace, her faint form following Anna's every movement. Exploring the attic one day in hopes of answers, Anna made a chilling discovery. Tucked away in a forgotten chest was an eerily lifelike porcelain doll, dressed in a period lace gown. The toy's vacant, knowing eyes and resemblance to the murdered girl struck her with horror. This relic acted as a cursed artifact binding the child's tormented spirit to this place. With the haunting rapidly escalating beyond her control, Anna knew she needed help. She managed to find a number for Jacob, a man experienced in investigating the paranormal. In a shaking voice, she pled for his assistance in making contact with the ghost girl to find out what she wanted. After a long pause, Jacob agreed to come. He was her last desperate hope for peace. Chapter 2. When Jacob's truck arrived the next evening, Anna waited anxiously on the creaking porch. Stepping from the vehicle, he cast a studious look over the isolated Victorian house. With his van full of arcane equipment and books on the occult, Jacob came prepared to confront whatever haunted this place. "I know dealing with the supernatural can be deeply disturbing," he said in a comforting tone, seeing Anna's distraught appearance and darkened under-eye circles. "But I promise you're not alone in this anymore. Whatever walks these halls, will find a way to set it right." As they entered the foyer's shifting shadows, Jacob's expression grew somber. He paused a moment, eyes closed and head bowed as if tuning his senses to invisible currents in the atmosphere. A faint hint of burning herbs wafted from his clothing. This was clearly not his first encounter with the otherworldly. "There is definitely a powerful presence here," he said. "A tragedy haunts this home. The ghost is tied to something that happened in this place long ago." Anna felt the uneasy weight pressing down on the house lift ever so slightly at having her experiences validated. Whatever came next, it was a comfort to know she hadn't imagined the strangeness. They moved into the parlor where Jacob began laying out his tools, crystals, candles, incense, and a Ouija board. "If we want to understand this spirit and help it find peace, we need to make contact," he explained while assembling an altar. "I'll attempt communication through a séance here tonight. Are you open to participating?" His calm expertise reassured Anna this was the right path. She knew the murdered girl's ghost was not purposefully malign, only lost between worlds, needing closure from her pain. Anna hoped their outreach might provide that long-overdue solace. As dusk deepened and shadows enveloped the house, Jacob lit candles throughout the parlor. He passed a single lit taper to Anna, instructing her to focus its flame on her intention of gently reaching the ghost girl. They sat facing each other with the Ouija board between them, fingertips resting lightly on the planchette. Jacob closed his eyes, softly chanting words Anna did not recognize as the old floorboards creaked beneath them. A cool draft raised goosebumps on her arms even as they sat near the fireplace. She watched the flickering flames dance erratically rather than vertical. Then, slowly at first but gaining speed, the planchette glided across the Ouija board, compelled by an unseen force. Jacob's soothing voice continued guiding the spirit child to use this as a conduit. After circling the board's letters, answers emerged to their gentle questions. "What is your name?" Anna asked, hands trembling. "Lucy," spelled out the spirit. "How old were you, Lucy?" Jacob followed up. "Onetten. What do you want from us? How can we help you rest?" "Friend." Despite awkwardness maneuvering the pointer, Anna felt they were establishing a real connection. The girl's ghost seemed friendly, even eager to communicate. She appeared a lonely spirit wanting help crossing to better place. But as they proceeded, a change entered the atmosphere. The board's answers grew cryptic and troubling. Ominous messages warned of things already in motion that could not be undone. When Anna begged for clarification, only the words D-A-R-K wheeled about the board. The séance continued, though an unsettling chill now permeated the shadowy parlor. Anna watched Jacob's calm expression strain with concern as the spirit's cryptic warnings intensified. The Ouija's planchette circled faster, compelled by a growing, unseen force. Their connection no longer felt welcoming but volatile, dangerous. When Jacob tried to end the session, the pointer furiously whipped about the board, spelling no repeatedly. Candles flared ebony black flames, and an awful stench like sulfur mixed with rotting flesh fouled the air. The spirit was not ready to let them leave. "Lucy, we've upset you, but we want to help," Anna said, nearly pleading. "This has gone too far. Please, let us assist you in finding peace." But the Ouija spat out only eerie laughter, the planchette vibrating under their hands with frenetic energy. Then 3 blood-red scratches tore across Jacob's forearm, as from a spectral claw. The abrasions glowed, etched by unholy fire. All the candles abruptly blew out, casting everything into shadow. From the darkness, a child's shrill cry broke the silence, followed by a heavy dragging noise upstairs. Footsteps, shuffling slowly above their heads toward the attic stairs. The room seemed to spin, reality itself unraveling, no longer moored by natural laws. A creeping dread gripped Anna unlike anything she had known, primal, suffocating fear. Then she glimpsed it. From the core of the 2 smoldering points of crimson light coalesced, rageful eyes staring hungrily. "We've made a terrible mistake," Jacob uttered in a hollow tone. "The ghost was only a lure to draw us here. This is something far more sinister." The air rippled as from intense heat, space torn open. A swirling vortex manifested, and within its center spun an endless void. The sulphurous stench poured forth again, mixed now with faint wailing screams. The rippling portal oscillated, stable yet poised to engulf the room. Anna's mind reeled in horror. Had their contact invited this shadowy evil into her home, breaching the veil between worlds? The Ouija acted as a door, and something waited very eagerly on the other side. The vortex shifted, widening, as if beckoning them to look deeper inside. Compelled by morbid fascination, Anna peered into its depths, searching for the source of those burning crimson eyes. And the choked cries. There lurked some unformed entity, writhing with serpentine undulations, trailing viscous plumes. Her gaze froze on the hideous sight, transfixed. Anna stood powerless as the churning portal expanded, reality peeling further back until its unfathomable darkness threatened to swallow everything. Chapter 3. In the days after the disastrous séance, an unnatural fear pervaded the countryside as if carried on the cold autumn wind. Animals shunned the surrounding woods, their nighttime voices silenced. Nearby pond waters, once pristine, turned strangely murky, bubbles disturbing their surface from unseen depths. The local newspaper's headlines reflected the growing sense of wrongness. "Missing hiker yet TOB found," read one front page. "Police baffled by bizarre grave robberies," declared another. Concerned citizens blamed these ominous events on everything from roving criminals to wild predators. None could imagine the true menace now awakened in their midst. Anna sat amid the musty attic, seeking any means to banish the entity they had unleashed. She pored over Jacob's occult texts by the feeble light of her flickering candle, desperately searching for rituals of protection, exorcism rites, anything that might stop the madness unfurling. But the ancient pages offered no clear solution, only cryptic allusions to forces beyond human comprehension. She had come to question everything since that fateful séance. Had the ghost of the murdered girl even been real at all? Or was it only an illusion, a tempting guise luring them to tamper with powers beyond their control? Whatever this presence was, it bore no resemblance to any tormented lost child. Its hungry eyes now watched Anna's every movement, peering from the darkened edges of rooms, glimpsed in hallway mirrors and window reflections. The idyllic sanctuary she had moved into became a prison, the sprawling halls a terrifying labyrinth she feared to traverse alone. Meanwhile, the demonic presence only grew bolder and more oppressive each day. "We opened a doorway," Jacob told her, his expression haunted as the entity's claws sank deeper into their reality. "Now something crossed into our world that cannot be easily sent back. It will keep feeding on fear and misery to strengthen its physical form, like fuel to a flame. I fear what it is becoming." His voice trailed off, but Anna sensed the unspoken words, unstoppable. She shuddered imagining how far the evil permeating her home might spread. Each paranormal incident brought them closer to utter catastrophe. They were quickly running out of time. When sunset's long shadows crept through the windows, Anna dreaded her isolation in the darkened house. She now took refuge in specific, safe spots, patches of hallway or rooms inexplicably avoided by the entity. But it was learning, probing for weaknesses as it etched out territories in their world. Soon Anna's few remaining strongholds began to fail. The hissing static of a nearby radio signal, once soothing background noise, morphed into shrieking white noise, shredding her nerves. Hallway lights exploded in showers of sparks when she passed underneath. Ancient floorboards splintered and cracked apart to reveal yawning pits of squirming darkness. The house was transforming into an extension of the malignant will imposing itself. In her bedroom one night, Anna awoke to find the shimmering form of the ghost child hovering above her bed, pale lips whispering a cryptic warning. "It was here long before us, waiting, and now it is free again." Before Anna could react, the ghostly girl dispersed in a whispering mist. Those chilling last words lingered. Whatever evil had slain her was once trapped in this place. And their actions had just released it back into the world. The hideous reality sank in. This entity was no mere ghost nor banished demon. It was an ancient darkness that perhaps had dwelled in the shadows of this land for ages before human feet ever tread here, waiting to reclaim its realm. And they, in their naivety, had opened the doorway to its return. Chapter 4. "Whatever we're dealing with possesses a malevolent cunning," Jacob said, his expression grim. "It chose this place not randomly but with purpose." He pored over maps and old property records searching for clues to why this site became such an epicenter of concentrated darkness. Some locales naturally facilitated the crossing between worlds, like the thin ice over a frigid lake. The deeper Jacob dug into the history here, the more he uncovered a legacy of agony. Even before the girl's brutal murder over 60 years ago, other violent deaths plagued this property through the centuries. As if the land itself were cursed. It's as if this thing has been pulling evil events into orbit around it, like a black hole twisting all to its will, he muttered. Gravity without light. Anna shuddered at the immense power subtly orchestrating suffering and death in this space for so long, all to feed its hunger. It wove tragedy into the fabric of the home, waiting for the day when ritual might finally tear its binding shackles asunder. On that chilly autumn night, it had found through them the perfect instruments. As her unease deepened, Anna noticed a new presence imposing upon the land. Crows gathered by the dozens in the barren trees surrounding the property, their shrill cawing a constant menacing warning. The birds stared with inky black eyes, not feeding but waiting, like spectral sentinels guarding the gates of their master's kingdom. Nothing stirred in the house or on the grounds without their watchful gaze observing. Meanwhile, the increasingly brazen entity no longer limited its hauntings to nighttime. While researching in the library one gray afternoon, Anna saw shadows detach themselves from the towering bookcases. They crept along the walls, slowly surrounding her chair. Icy tendrils of darkness slithered up the table legs, leaving smoldering scorch marks in the wood. Glancing behind, she found the path to the door blocked by a writhing wall of shadow. Fighting mounting panic, Anna commanded it to leave this place in the name of all that was righteous. In response, a sound like dry leaves blowing along pavement whispered from the swirling darkness. The forms halted their advance, then retracted back into the corners and under furniture. But the icy clamminess lingered. It had merely retreated, for now. With nowhere else to turn, Anna sought help from the local parish priest. But he proved unwilling to believe the full extent of the haunting's demonic nature, only offering rote blessings and assurances that no evil could touch a heart faithful to God. His platitudes rang hollow, providing no comfort. As Anna departed the church, she glimpsed movement in the empty baptismal font. A thin black ooze bubbles up to coat the white marble interior and congealed into a glistening oil. It gave off no reflection in the holy water. When she glanced away and back again, the liquid had vanished. The insidious entity was mocking her attempts to fight it. That night, Anna found the ghost girl waiting in her bedroom yet again, features visibly frightened. "You must leave this place," her whispered voice insisted. "It is too late for me, but you still have a chance. Please, before the darkness takes everything." But leaving would only allow the evil to spread unchecked from this epicenter. Somewhere, answers and hope still waited. As Anna consoled the ghost, she noticed the girl's form ripple, her visage blurring, and for a split second reflecting the smoldering shadows of the demonic entity, rather than the murdered child. Anna recoiled in dismay. Was this presence only camouflaging itself in the shell of the ghost, or had it absorbed her completely? Perhaps the girl's trapped spirit had crossed over that night they first made contact, leaving only this cunning impostor in her stead. No words it spoke could be trusted. Alone in her room later that night, Anna wept bitterly. How long could she withstand the unrelenting mental siege upon her sanity before she broke? The entity was winning by attrition, turning all around her putrid, incrementally dimming the world's light. Soon, she would have nothing left. The next day, Jacob announced he had uncovered a promising lead, an occult document describing how to force a manifestation of the entity into physical form. If they could goad it into temporary corporeal existence, perhaps it could then be vanquished for good before it gained full dominion. Anna hesitated, but they were left with few options. That evening, surrounded in the library by salt barriers and binding runes, Jacob began the incantation to summon the entity into a prepared vessel, an antique mirror engraved with alchemical symbols. As he chanted the complex ritual, the atmosphere grew heavy, pressure building like dark clouds before a storm. The mirror's glass surface turned jet black and seemed to ripple. Inside spun liquid shadows. "Show us your true form," Jacob bellowed in a commanding tone. "Manifest before us that we may cast you out." In the darkness, two burning eyes flashed open, filled with primordial rage. Chapter 5. The moment Anna stared into the evil entity's eyes as it manifested within the mirror, her vision went black. When sight returned, she found herself alone on an abandoned rural road cutting through an overgrown field. No signs marked the way, only a peeling telephone pole nearby. The horizon showed a dead, washed-out gray. Unease crawled down her spine. This was not the library, yet somehow the place felt hauntingly familiar, like glimpsing oneself in a recurring dream. She called out for Jacob, but her voice made no sound. Was she having an out-of-body experience while her physical body remained behind? Had the entity pulled only her consciousness here? Cautiously, she ambled down the crumbling asphalt, searching for any landmark to make sense of the eerie setting. The weeds and brambles tugged at her clothes, granting no path or direction. Everything felt muted in a dense, heavy stillness, no bird calls, no rustling leaves. In the distance, she spotted the silhouette of a small figure shambling unsteadily through the rows of withered vegetation. As Anna drew nearer, she saw it was a little girl in a tattered dress, her movements erratic like a marionette with tangled strings. Dark stains that looked horribly like blood covered the outfit. Anna called to the child, but just like her own voice, no sound escaped. She quickened her pace, hoping to reach the girl, but no matter how fast she ran, the distance between them stretched further. When Anna glanced back over her shoulder, the pole and road had vanished, everything swallowed up in a sea of formless gray fog. Panic rising, she looked ahead again just as the girl turned, revealing not a face, but only a misshapen cloth head like that of an antique doll. The neck-severed ends of rope hung from her wrists and ankles. The being raised a trembling arm toward Anna, as if pleading for help, then the limbs twisted violently with the jarring sounds of snapping bone. The broken marionette collapsed into the brush, pieces coming undone, leaving only a tangled mass of knotted rope sinking into the dirt. Rivulets of something too dark to be blood seeped from the coils. Anna stumbled back, hyperventilating, desperate to wake from this madness. Laughter then echoed from somewhere in the gloom, a familiar playful giggle turning into caustic, inhuman cackles. The air wavered, reality bending, and Anna now beheld the ghost girl standing down the road, flickering in and out of existence. Yet the wavering form appeared superimposed over a writhing mass of oily shadows. When the entity spoke, its voice came as a dissonant chorus. "We could not fully manifest in your world on our own, until you kindly opened the way," it said, savoring the words. "She was the lure, and you took the bait." The truth crushed Anna's spirit. She sank to her knees in the rustling weeds, face buried in her hands. This manipulation had ensnared them both, the ghost impersonator widening the breach while Jacob's summoning ritual provided the final key. She had practically gift-wrapped this horror and handed it the reins to their reality. "And now your world will suffer as we have suffered, frozen and alone for so long in the darkness," the chorus intoned inside her mind. "Your anguish shall be exquisite." As the landscape faded around her, the giggling ghost child blurred back into a shapeless mass, the entity's disguise melting away to reveal the ravenous shadows underneath. They flooded Anna's vision as she screamed soundlessly. She felt her thoughts and memories being turned inside out, violated by swirling tendrils probing every recess of her psyche. Abruptly, Anna awoke from the nightmare vision, finding herself crumpled on the library floor. She glimpsed Jacob slumped over in his chair, blood trickling from his nose. The mirror containing the summoning spell lay smashed on the ground, with splinters scattered among shards of glinting glass. They had survived the ritual, but the entity had pierced the veil further, confirming their worst fears. This evil could manipulate both environments and perceptions. Nowhere was safe. In her mind lingered the dissonant laughter, the probing malice burrowing into her thoughts. She feared she would never be free of its presence again. Later, Anna shared the haunting vision with Jacob. He surmised that while the summoning failed to fully manifest the entity, their ritual had significantly weakened the barriers between realms. The dark forces they glimpsed could more easily cross over now, seeping into their reality like floodwater rising, drowning out all light. Time was quickly running out. Anna knew action had to be taken before the entity gained enough power to manifest physically. But Jacob's arsenal of spells, sigils, and rites seemed ineffective against a presence so cunning, able to twist every attempt to its advantage. There was only one card left to play in desperation. Reluctantly, Jacob revealed that banishing an entity this ancient and potent might require a willing sacrificial offering, a ritual transferring the darkness from their world into the vessel of a human soul. Such dangerous magic came at an immense cost, often consuming the very person who invoked it along with the demonic presence. Anna insisted he teach her the rite. One way or another, this had to end. Chapter 6. The night Anna learned the sacrificial ritual, the house around her seemed to groan, floorboards buckling, window glass cracking from mounting pressure as if the structure could barely contain the widening breach between realms. Closing her eyes, Anna steeled her fraying nerves. She would face whatever came next, no matter the cost. Jacob had shown her the specifics of the ritual, though made Anna swear not to share them with any living soul. The knowledge alone carried a damnable weight. But it was their last weapon against annihilation, so she committed every detail to memory. The rite called for an artifact linked to the entity itself. Anna knew just the object, the cursed antique doll she had found in the attic, an effigy bearing the spirit's wicked influence. Binding the darkness to such an icon made destroying the fetish's physical form a path to banishing the entity forever. But succeeding required her full sacrifice. As crimson dusk bled across the horizon, Anna ascended to the attic. Willing her hands to stop trembling, she retrieved the doll from its hiding place. The vacant eyes gazed back, seeming to follow her every movement. She steeled herself, then descended the creaking stairs toward her fate. Anna gathered the ritual components, black candles, binding relics, cursed artifacts, arcane texts, the fetish doll. She chose the upstairs hallway as the site for its intimate connection to the long-ago murder. Combined with the concentrated evil permeating the house, this space would facilitate the banishment. Drawing the binding circle with purifying salts mixed in sanctified oils, Anna placed the fetish doll at its center. Anna lit the ritual candles and began chanting the incantations Jacob had taught her. The flickering flames hissed and bent at odd angles in response. As she recited the archaic phrases, reality itself seemed to still, the very air turning viscous. Through the open doorways, the room's shadows churned and raced about erratically, as if seeking any breach or exit. The entity thrashed against its bindings like a rabid animal in a trap. Meanwhile, Anna focused on the words Jacob made her memorize phonetically, their meaning obscured. She put her full faith in him and the ancient rite. The temperature plummeted abruptly. Anna's breath misted as she chanted on. Icy tendrils twisted around her limbs, but she did not falter. All light sources dimmed, leaving only the small ring of candles illuminating the ritual fetish doll and herself. Sinister whispers echoed down the hallway, taunting, pleading, promising. "You shall not claim any more souls here," Anna proclaimed, emboldened. "Your reign in this place ends tonight." With those defiant words, reality convulsed. A gulf of infinite darkness manifested before Anna, engulfing the attic doorway and creeping hungrily along the walls toward her candle ring. The shadowy vortex swirled with unearthly howls and screams, spewing forth a sulphurous miasma. This was the sealing ritual's climactic test, and her last chance to break the cycle. The entity poured all its remaining rage into one final psychological assault, burning illusions into her mind. Anna gripped her amulet fiercely and rejected every phantom. She had long ago severed attachment to the material, centered now only on her sole purpose here. Glancing down, she saw her hands were translucent, flickering like weak candle flames in a strong wind. The ritual was her passage. As she chanted the last phrases, the vortex collapsed inward with a thunderous rush. A titanic inhuman wail shook the walls as the entity imploded around the fetish doll, scattering its accursed artifacts into dust and ash. Inky tendrils flailed blindly before sinking into the floorboards, writhing like worms exposed to sunlight. Then silence. The crushing pressure that permeated the house lifted, a gentle breeze stirring the musty drapes. Outside, birds tentatively began singing again between the creaks and settlings of the old walls. For the first time in weeks, daylight shone clearly through the windows. Anna sensed the darkness scattering on the wind. She released a weary sigh. Her physical self was nearly transparent now, vitality flowing steadily into the sealing ritual. She had kept her vow, banishing the entity that would have consumed so many souls. Her own spirit would move on shortly, to whatever lay beyond the veil. Not even Jacob knew for certain, but she did not fear that destination. Settling into a calm meditation, Anna reflected on this place that was nearly a grave for so many, yet now stood a chance at redemption. In time, new feet would tread these floors, new voices fill the lonely halls. They would never know the evil once rooted here, nor her role in cutting it away. But that was the purpose of sacrifice, to secure light for those yet to come. As Anna's corporeal form faded further, she spotted a glimmering silhouette down the hallway, the ghost girl, unchanged from their first encounter. The murdered child gazed back serenely. Anna sensed this benign spirit would soon depart as well, her own unfinished business here finally ended. The ghost girl raised her hand in a silent gesture of gratitude, of farewell, then dispersed into glimmering dust motes. A profound peace settled over the house. Whatever waited for Anna and the child's freed spirit in the great unknown, they would face it together, unburdened at last by past wounds and regrets. She closed her eyes, ready to let the ritual embrace her fully, welcoming the journey ahead. As Anna's spirit drifted into the afterlife, Jacob arrived too late at the house. He had sensed a shift in the atmosphere from afar and rushed back, only to find the ritual aftermath. Though devastated by Anna's sacrifice, Jacob took solemn comfort knowing the entity was banished forever. In the following days, he consecrated the home to protect it from future darkness. Jacob decided to remain there keeping vigil, determined to guard the peace Anna gave everything to secure. He would pass on the house one day to someone who would appreciate its recovered beauty, never knowing the blood price paid. Meanwhile, news spread of the missing woman and the abandoned vehicle found on the property. Investigators deemed it a puzzling but isolated incident. They could not conceive of the immense evil she had faced here alone for so long, nor the incredible sacrifice made in secret. But every now and then, late at night when the floors creaked and wind brushed the eaves, Jacob swore he glimpsed Anna's form again, just a fleeting shadow at the edge of sight, watching over the home she redeemed. And he knew her spirit had found a way back across whatever veil separates worlds to keep her silent promise, honoring the light until the end of days. The end.